First is Duncan McBranch, Program Director for Entrepreneurship and Mission Innovation at Los Alamos National Laboratory, and Molly Chernicek, who does Entrepreneur Program Strategy and Coordination at the Feynman Center for Innovation at Los Alamos National Laboratory. Duncan, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Lindsay. And let's go ahead and advance to the next slide, please. Welcome, everybody. We're glad to see we've got, looks like, close to 90 people on. And so we're looking forward to the discussion today. We'll have a quick presentation, about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll go over to Q&A, and we'll hand it back and forth as we go. So next slide, please. So the New Mexico Lab Embedded Entrepreneur Program partners with visionary entrepreneurs to bring their deep tech innovations to market. And we are unique among the DOE Lab Embedded Entrepreneur Programs in that we focus on national security related technologies, which are core to the missions at Los Alamos and Sandia National Labs. And I'm going to go through in a little bit more detail the 5 technical focus areas for your benefit. Just to note, we're recruiting cohort 3 with the process this spring, and we're primarily looking for partners with technical staff and capabilities at Los Alamos. We're building a joint program with Sandia, but we're not yet funded with Sandia to do that for cohort 3. Next slide, please. We focus on deep tech innovation, as I said. Part of my role with the program is to couple the successful cohorts with technical expertise and capabilities at the laboratory. But we also build through our national network of business mentorship and try to position the companies both for a successful technical demonstration of the product, but also the ability to raise funds. So I'll pass it over to my colleague Molly to talk about the next, how the program works.
Thanks, Duncan. Hi, I'm Molly Chernicek, and I am the person who's in charge of the curriculum. I help you start the whole process with getting a collaboration with Los Alamos, and I connect you to our network of investors and business mentors. And so today we're going to cover what our program is about and what to expect in the process for cohort 3. Unlike many accelerators, New Mexico LEEP works hard to match your technical milestones with technical experts within the lab who can test, validate, and accelerate your technical goals. Likewise, we bring in business expertise and topics that support each cohort's needs. We are not a one-size-fits-all. We are small enough that we can adapt and add to our training curriculum to benefit each innovator in the program. Next slide, Rin. So we are looking for innovators who have vision, dedication, know-how, and momentum to get their technology to market. Our job is to set you up with technical experts and experts from industry and the business community, and help you support your path to a first product demonstration, early customer adoption, and funding. We'll go into more detail in the next slide on our training program. Our efforts are focused on helping you address the gaps in your current technology, product, and business development with specific training topics and connections to experts in our network who can give you timely insights to investor expectations, technology, and market trends. And thirdly, the investment community expects deep tech startups to identify a strong and unique product market fit that offers a pathway to growth and success. With this in mind, we've built a curriculum with topics and mentors who help our innovators target key technical features and match them to market needs and business milestones to position your company for follow-on funding. Next slide, Rin. So as mentioned, we primarily focus on 5 areas in the training curriculum: product design and development, company foundations, business model development, corporate governance, and fundraising strategy. One of our goals is to help our companies raise the next round of funding, whether that's another SBIR, a pre-seed, a seed, or an A round. It's very challenging to raise funding for these small deep tech companies. And so the co-founders are focused usually when they come in on getting the technology to work. So we assist the companies with these other topics, and one of our biggest emphases is on helping innovators get the right kind of deck, covering key information that investors expect to see and communicating in a way that investors want to hear it delivered. We work with our innovators during and outside of the curriculum to improve their decks. We put our innovators in front of a number of friendly investors throughout the program who give them feedback on their decks and suggestions for how to improve them. We also encourage co-founders with the selected innovators as well as key employees in each LEEP company to participate in our training. Next slide.
So I'm going to take it over here again, and I'll quickly cover the 5 focus areas for our deep tech innovators. And it's our goal here just to give you a quick flavor of the breadth of capabilities at Los Alamos. We have almost 14,000 staff and about a little over 4,000 PhDs in almost every scientific discipline. So if you have detailed questions about a specific capability, we'd appreciate if you send us an email, and we'll try to address that, as part of the process to help in your application. An important part of the selection process to make sure that there's a good technical match between the needs of the entrepreneurs and capabilities available at the lab. So in the area of advanced materials, we've highlighted 3 particular areas around facilities and expertise to characterize performance of materials, particularly under extreme conditions. We've got several user facilities and programs for novel manufacturing, including nanotechnology, nanostructured materials, additive manufacturing, things like that, and specialize in modeling the behavior of complex materials in dynamic conditions to provide a predictive capability for how materials are going to function in a new product application. So we're looking for people with particular products in mind, and there's more detail available on the LEEP website. Next slide, please. In areas of artificial intelligence and advanced computing, we're looking for commercial applications of leading edge ways to harvest knowledge and insight from large data streams using machine learning and artificial intelligence. We're also quite interested in advanced computing platforms that push the boundary for applications in things like quantum computing and other emerging computing platforms. And just various science-based interpretation of large-scale data. Slide, please. In biotechnology and bioscience, we have fundamental programs across various areas of bioinformatics and theoretical biology, and also a lot of expertise in characterization, advanced tools such as flow cytometry and genetic characterization, metagenomics, and applications of very large data streams from biology to application areas like global disease surveillance and bioenergy. Next slide. In space systems, we have enduring missions in making payloads for detection of things like gamma ray bursts and other terrestrial signatures from space. We make systems for planetary exploration. We test payloads for space survivability, and we have capabilities for putting supercomputers in space to do real-time data processing of sensor gathering missions that are in space and getting those back down to Earth. We also have unique facilities for testing payloads to make sure they'll survive the space environment. With the thriving space economy in New Mexico, includes Kirtland Air Force Base, the space the new Space Force headquarters in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and New Mexico Sunport is the only inland commercial spaceport for things for rapid launch capabilities and testing. So again, we're focusing on companies that'll set up and be part of that New Mexico ecosystem. Next slide. In clean energy transition, we're focused on, applications that move us from the current oil and gas economy. New Mexico is either the number 2 or 3 producer across oil and gas in the country, and we're looking to transition to a zero carbon economy in an accelerated fashion, with technologies that can be tested and deployed in the desert Southwest, where we've got abundant sun and wind and are challenged for water. So things like energy storage, fuel cells and hydrogen applications, carbon capture and utilization and storage are all of interest in this area, and looking for things that can be tested and scaled in New Mexico. So that's a quick flavor of our 5 technology areas. I'll hand it over back to Molly to talk about the application process.
Thanks, Duncan. So on to who we are looking for. We're looking for committed innovators who are comfortable in taking 2 years to really try to develop the product idea and build their company. We're looking for people who have demonstrated a significant problem for the national security related environment. We're looking for dual use opportunities. We're looking for alignment. I mean, that is the key part for us, is making sure that what you need technically aligns with our interests and our capabilities on our side. And we're looking for coachability. We bring in a number of people from the outside and who are really excited to help you all, and expect that you resonate with what they're talking about and are interested in what they have to offer you. So some of what has caught our attention in prior proposals includes, make sure you have a clear and concise vision of your product, not just the technology. With so many topics we support, your proposal may be in front of someone who's not a cutting edge expert in what you're doing. They may be an expert in something else. So if you spend several paragraphs on how you're approaching something very specific, we may not realize that you are working on something that that really is of interest to Los Alamos. And so please let us know what your application or product is going to be, even if it's still a bit conceptual. And then secondly, make sure that where there are questions about your technology, that you give a description that, again, a broad audience can understand. And we understand that it's not always easy to see what we're doing at Los Alamos. We have such a very diverse website that's quite big. So, again, just let us know what you are looking for in the best way you can in your application, even if it's not clear whether we have it or not at Los Alamos. And then if you're looking for specific things like, do you need help testing and validating, or do you need help with algorithm development, or are you looking for data sets? Again, try to be as specific as you can in that application. Next, Bryn. So the selection criteria is pretty clear. We've got, we expect you to be working on something within our 5 technology areas that has, a national security potential implication, economic security. Our intention is, is that we want to know that you're want to transition your technology into a product, that you're not doing this to just continue research. We're also expecting you to have done early customer discovery and have already identified some interest in your proposed solution. We do expect you to relocate to New Mexico as the selected innovator for your 2-year, for the 2-year duration of this program. You don't have to move your whole company. And then you must be a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident to sign an agreement with Los Alamos. Next slide, please. A little bit about New Mexico. You know, again, as we've mentioned, we want you to be here so you get the opportunity to interact with our scientists, with our business mentors, and we think that this is a great place to be, especially now. It's really a hotbed of scientific innovation due to the presence of 3 federal R&D laboratories, and it's a very fast-growing high-tech community, especially now in biotech, energy, and space. And then aside from the opportunities to build a company here or pursue additional technical careers, you know, the New Mexico offers beautiful landscapes, a laid-back culture, an exceptional quality of life, affordable cost of living, a unique blend of cultures, outdoor recreation, and events. So Lindsay, I'll turn it over to you on the next slide.
Thanks, Molly. So let's talk briefly about the selection timeline. We are having a little bit of trouble with this particular slide, but the applications are due on April 17th at midnight Mountain Time. I know a lot of people wait to the last minute to apply. You can do that, but make sure you know that it's Mountain Time. So 11:59 p.m. We're 2 hours difference than Eastern. We have a series of reviews that happen internally. The next review that you may be invited to attend would be a virtual interview. It's an hour long. And we will notify you if we are inviting you to the virtual interview. After the virtual interviews, the next round is called the alignment workshop, which is more of a series of casual conversations so that we can really drill down on what your technology is and who we might match you with at Los Alamos National Laboratory. And then finally, the final round of our evaluations is on September 11th and 12th. That's when we do our final pitches and we fly you out to Santa Fe, New Mexico for 2 days of meeting our team, meeting our advisory boards, and doing a final pitch. So we prep you on all of those stages beforehand, but the important thing is that you need to be available or try to be available to the best of your ability for an hour slot for a virtual interview sometime in June. We obviously will give you plenty of notice, and then for 2 days to come to Santa Fe on September 11th and 12th for the final pitches. After that, we make our decision in October. We'll let you know if you've been admitted to the cohort. In November, we do the big press push where we let everyone know that you are part of the next cohort. And then we want you to try and relocate in December for a start date in early January. We'll have an in-person orientation in Santa Fe in January. And then Molly will go into this more in detail, but trainings thereafter starting in January. So Molly, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. We have a strategic leadership council that is very involved with this program. You can quickly read through their names and their positions, but they offer and bring a wealth of talent and expert experience to this program and to our companies, and we're very lucky to have them. Next slide, please. And then this is our team that runs the program day to day. The Los Alamos Commerce and Development side of it is Lauren, Lindsay, and Rin. And Duncan, Marianne Johnston, and I are on the Los Alamos side, and David Kiston works with us from Sandia. Next slide. And just a quick thing, you know, cohort 1 is we have Christina and her company that are looking at a new approach to Alzheimer's disease diagnostics and treatment. Cliff Chan is working on a novel, smarter, and less expensive optical sensor for LiDAR applications. And Shri is working on a platform that will help better predict space weather impacts on satellites. Cohort 2, next slide, is Yun from Filtravate, and they're working on a membrane that can filter out viruses in the pharmaceutical space. And Scott and his company are looking at new ways of transferring energy and material resources in low gravity environments using their new integrated system. So with that, next slide. We will turn this over to questions.
Okay, so that wraps up the prepared presentation section of our webinar. Thank you, Molly and Duncan. I'd like to open up to questions from the audience. I was mistaken. Earlier, I said, please type your questions in the chat, but the chat function is not working. So please type your questions in the Q&A section. And then we will take them real time here with Duncan and Molly. The Q&A icon is located on the very bottom of your screen. However, if you have very specific questions about your technology or innovation that probably won't apply to other people listening, please send me an email. My email address is on the screen right now, lindsay@nmleap.com, and I will try to get your question to the right person. So let's get started with some of our questions. This one is for Molly. Molly, as a fellow, can my company also receive or apply for other programs like SBIRs, STTRs, or other business incubator programs?
Yes, we encourage all of the above, and depending on requirements that come with those other opportunities, we'll work with you to make sure that you are qualified for those programs and opportunities as well.
Great. Duncan, this is a question for you. Someone types, our business has multiple innovations and some of our innovations are already in the market while others are at an early TRL. Are we an ideal candidate for LEEP? And if not, are there other ways to collaborate with the laboratory for technical assistance?
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay. We're primarily looking for companies that are trying to get their first product out in a deep tech innovation area. And so if you've already surpassed that barrier and you've got products in the market, you're probably a little too far along for our program. But we do have a number of ways that the lab can interact with industry through cooperative research agreements. And those can be at no cost to the company if you're located in New Mexico.
I'd just like to add for those attending that are interested in working with the laboratory in a capacity other than LEEP, feel free to reach out to me and I can connect you to the right people. Okay, Molly, this one is for you. What is the time commitment for LEEP? Like how many hours per week or month? And how can I do this LEEP fellowship while still working on my business?
We expect you to spend about 12 hours a month on LEEP related programming and events. We tend to schedule about 9 hours of classroom time where we bring in experts. We also have, pitch practice is a common theme each month too. And every other month we tend to have you just pitch to our internal trainers, but every other month from there, we try to bring in friendly investor panels that give you really clear recommendations on what you can do better. It's up to you in terms of doing more. We work with some companies. Some companies are always reaching out to us to help them, for us to introduce them to people in our network, for us to keep working with them individually on their presentations. We also, a number of our trainers offer office hours based on the exercises that they've given, and they're willing to work with companies a little bit more. So it really is outside of that 12 hours, it's up to you how much you want to work with us.
Okay, thank you. Duncan, this one's for you, and I saw you already answered this directly to the questionnaire, but if you could, there are other people that I think have the same question, so if you don't mind repeating it. So if selected, are founders of a company that are non-technical, they're more business focused, are they just as competitive as an applicant with a technical background?
Yes, we want to make sure that we have, a founder that is motivated to bring on the needed staff if they haven't already. But part of what we offer is technical expertise that they may not already have in the company. So as part of the 2-year process, we would expect the business founder to identify and bring on other staff, especially for the parts of the product manufacturing that need to be done outside of the laboratory. But in principle, if you've got a deep tech idea and you can use the capabilities here, then you'd be competitive. And if you don't already have a technical team on board.
Okay. Molly, you mentioned that relocation is required, but a question came in, can the work be done remotely from another location in the US with face-to-face meetings periodically, or is relocation absolutely required?
Yeah, for the person who's actually selected as a LEEP innovator, we do want them to be with us. You get so much more out of it being in the same environment with the other LEEP innovators. And you know, a little bit to add on to what Duncan just said, we do have a couple companies where the LEEP innovator and the CEO aren't the technical drivers of the company, and they tend to actually bring in their technical people regularly to participate in some of our training and some of our events.
Okay, Duncan, I'll shoot this one to you. How many awards will there be for cohort 3?
And I'll just note that I'm sort of reading through the questions as they come in and trying to type answers as they go. So on this one, we'll have at least 3 and perhaps up to 6, depending on available funding. So we don't know yet where the cutoff will be. But if we, I've been just looking at the open questions and then trying to type in answers as we go.
Okay.
And so
I'll pull up the questions that
open ones
that I think will be more applicable for more people that I hear in my calls with people.
Okay, just before you go to the next one, Lindsay, there's a number of ones that are coming in that are sort of specific to the situation, particularly around green card holders, and we just encourage you to send those questions separately via email. I won't try to answer all those individual questions. You know, for us to work in this program, we need a cooperative research agreement as the mechanism for the lab to work with the company. And so the cooperative research agreement requires that the primaries in the company be U.S. citizens or U.S. persons, green card holders. You know, there may be situations where you know, there's a mixture of U.S. citizens and non-U.S. citizens with the U.S. company. That's probably okay, but we'll have to look at each situation a little bit in a tailored way.
Okay. Duncan, I'll send this one to you also. Should I find my LANL scientist collaborator, or do you do that once you know the tech area?
Yeah, and I typed an answer in this one that we like to, you know, the part of the process we go through is to make sure that we have an appropriate staff member available. So we're not expecting every company to do that as part of the application. However, it would be helpful if you're as specific as possible about the types of expertise that you need. From past applications, we have people coming to us, you know, don't come to us if you're looking for coders or, you know, people to build a graphical, you know, user interface or things like that. You need to be looking for the kinds of staff and expertise that are only found in a national lab. You get sort of a chief technology officer as a part-time member of your team to really make sure that you've validated the scientific underpinnings of the minimum viable product. But we don't, the national labs will not do the kinds of things that you could just hire out to a industry contract research provider.
Here's another one that's sort of in the same vein. Where can I find what capabilities are available at LANL? In particular, I'm looking for large 3D printers and special materials, but I think generally a lot of people have this question, Duncan. So, and we do ask on the application, what specific technology technology assistance are you looking for from Los Alamos? And I think it's encouraged you do a little bit of homework. So do we have sources for people to try and help identify what areas we might pair them, what people we might pair them with, or what areas we might try to match them within the laboratory?
Yeah, so this is one where we encourage you to send us an email with as much detail as you're willing to put in. Again, non-proprietary. We do try to match as part of the process. We may have the staff and materials at the lab, but they may not be available to work because they have been committed to other mission areas. And so we have to do that sort of dynamically with each cohort. So again, if you can send us an email with the information, we can help identify that. We're not expecting everyone to go and you know, find the right expert at the lab. We also recognize that it's a challenge at a lab like ours to just find out all the things that we do, because we don't generally make those very transparent on the website. And so it's a curated process that our internal team goes through to try to make those connections. And if you can be as specific as possible, that will help us do that.
Molly, this one's for you. Could you describe a typical day for a LEEP fellow in this program?
Sure. Well, again, you know, our programming and our networking for these LEEP innovators and their companies are to help them move as fast as possible and accelerate their technology as well as their business plan. So, you know, we don't want to dominate every single day what they're doing. So, you know, if we do something on a Wednesday and really look at what product strategy each of these teams has, then, you know, we expect them to go for the next week and work on their technology, work on their business strategy or whatever, and then come back to us. So, you know, our days with our LEEP companies are pretty full. They're basically a half a day, 3 to 4 hours. And then until we meet them again the next week or so, they're on their own. We make a lot of connections, however, as I mentioned, there's a lot going on in biotech, energy, and space in terms of new infrastructure, additional programs in New Mexico. We make our LEEP companies, we introduce them to those programs. So a number of our LEEP program companies are involved in another New Mexico program, another accelerator, working with another specialized group, exploring infrastructure, or actually contracting with additional infrastructure. So it just depends.
Okay. I don't know if you want to answer this, Molly or Duncan. There's a question about if the technology area applies to more than one of our areas. Should they apply multiple times to multiple areas or just pick the best fit?
I would say we certainly just want one application. And, you know, if it applies in more than one, just make a note of that. You can check one and say, you know, just make a note that they could apply in others. We recognize that, for example, you may have a biotechnology application that requires machine learning or things like that. And so that's encouraged, not discouraged.
Okay. Let me try and find another good question here. Some of these questions are getting quite specific. So if you have a specific question and we don't get to you, I suggest you email me, lindsay@nmleap.com, and I'll try to get you as detailed of an answer as possible.
I'll jump down one of these, Lindsay. Some of
Okay.
them, you know, so we're new effort ourselves, and so we're on our second cohort. We're really 3 months into our second cohort, and so far our companies have raised $2.4 million, and so we feel like they're on the right track and they're getting to the right people, and we're going to hope to continue to see that kind of success. We've had one join 3 other accelerators. We have one that's gotten New Mexico funding to hire new people, so there's funding here that reduces the amount that you have to pay for new staff, and there's also funding for buildings. So we've had a lot of success so far with these 5 companies.
Well, and let me just add to that, because Roger Atnam had asked a couple of related questions, one about a typical day for a fellow in this program. And so the primary goal of the fellowship is to have you succeed in building a minimum viable product demonstration for your company. So we're trying to put those resources in place. So job number 1 is building the company to a place where it's fundable and you've got a product demonstration. That comes with a stipend, and so we've structured that as sort of an 80% stipend, specifically to allow PIs to get have SBIR or other government programs that have complementary funding. We want to leverage funding in the program to the extent possible, but there are restrictions on double funding people for the same thing. And so we fund an 80% stipend, allowing the other 20% to be covered from other sources. And that stipend is supposed to cover you to really build your company as job number one. 80% of it, sorry, somebody just popped under, 80% of a full-time employee under the stipend pay structure that's dictated for us from the Oak Ridge Office of Scientific Research. So it's essentially I don't know, Lindsay, pop in with the exact number. It's about a 90K stipend for
it's a 90K stipend, and the lowest we can go is 50%, and the highest that we will go is 80% to ensure that we're not over, that it's not over an FTE paid payment.
Right.
Thanks, MJ. Okay. Any other questions? You have just a couple minutes. Well,
the lightning fast Q&A was very efficient this time. So
that was very efficient.
Again, we encourage you, if you have follow-up questions, send an email to the team, and we'll try to answer those dynamically. Lindsay, maybe I can't remember if you mentioned that we're trying to keep the application process fairly simple in terms of time spent. Did you?
Yeah, thanks, Duncan. So the application shouldn't take longer than an hour if you have your resume or CV polished and ready to go. And if you have a basic pitch deck that's less than 10 megabytes, so it doesn't need to be specific to us, just kind of a general pitch deck. There are 8 quantitative questions. So there's only 8 questions that should take some real crafting on how you want to answer those. The rest of the questions are yes, no, what's your address, things like that. So it really shouldn't take you longer than an hour. So we do encourage you to give it a whirl. You never know. Applications, as a reminder, applications are due on April 17th at midnight. I do suggest, I have an application tip for everyone. Our application portal is not the most user-friendly, the federal government here, sorry. So if you want to preview all of the application questions in advance of going into the application portal, and at risk of losing some of your questions if you don't advance to the next page fast enough, if you go to our website, nmleep.com, on the top, there's a tab called Application Process. On the Application Process page, scroll all the way to the bottom. There's a green button that says Application Preview. That's where you can download all the application questions we're going to ask. And again, there's 8 serious questions. There are other questions, but if you can answer those 8 serious questions and feel comfortable with your responses, then I think it shouldn't take you longer than an hour. If you do have questions while you're doing your application, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm happy to help work through some questions, but it needs to be before April 17th probably, which is a Monday. The email address, Alejandro, is lindsay@nmleep.com. It's on the webinar page right now, if you look at the slide deck. And it looks like we have some more questions that have just come in.
I'll just answer the one on clean energy.
Okay.
That we're open to applications in energy transition, provided there's a way to demonstrate and apply those in New Mexico. So marine might be hard, but aerial could be, but sometimes marine could be in a lake. So if it's a water, technology, we're flexible to look at that. We just want to make sure that we can build and scale in the desert Southwest.
Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, let's wrap up our 2023 LEEP informational webinar. If you do have more questions and you didn't get a chance to ask them here, please shoot me an email, lindsay@nmleep.com, or just go to our website, contact us, shoot an email that way. Remember,
And,
as soon as
Lindsay, just to mention, sorry to interrupt, but we will put the Q&As that are in this session on our FAQ page so that people don't have to, if you didn't get a chance to copy those down. And then as email questions come in, we'll give an anonymized answer also on our FAQ page as we go, just so that there's, other people can benefit from the questions that are asked.
Great. We'll wrap up our webinar here. As soon as we close out the webinar, remember that a short survey is going to pop up on your screen, and thank you in advance for taking that 5-question survey. Most importantly, don't forget that our application deadline is Monday, April 17th, 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time, and we look forward to seeing all your applications. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody.